The Galactic Council chamber gleamed under artificial sunlight, vast and humming with life. Delegates from 34 star systems hovered, floated, or stood behind their designated podiums, their translucent displays flickering with sector reports. The air smelled of ozone, heated polyglass, and a faint note of superiority. "Sector Zeta-14 is a minor incident," drawled Gorlax of Zenth, his amphibious voice wet with sarcasm. "Let the humans contribute, 12 units perhaps? They seem eager." A few chuckles rolled through the assembly. Earth's ambassador, Dr. Lila Tran, didn't flinch. She adjusted her glasses, even though she didn't need them, and calmly replied, "Earth will send its finest. You'll find we don't measure value in numbers." Another ripple of laughter, though tinged with discomfort this time. Gorlax raised a brow. "Ah, the finest. I assume that means another batch of your cinema warriors." She didn't respond. She just sent the transmission. On board the USS Valiant Ghost, slicing through the void in silent mode, Captain Elias McConnell reviewed terrain scans. The jungle moon Crithin V shimmered on the holotable, its terrain a spiderweb of cliffs, mist, and deep-rooted foliage. 12 soldiers sat in a circle around him, faces grim, eyes sharp. These weren't draftees. They were U.S. Army Green Berets, covert specialists, trained for insertion, disruption, and disappearance. "This isn't a rescue op," Elias began, voice low, steady. "This isn't shock and awe. This is surgical humiliation. You're not here to kill, unless absolutely necessary. You're here to confuse, disarm, and make sure they never underestimate Earth again." A pause. He pointed to 3 structures glowing red on the map: the Virex Communication Hub, a fuel refinery, and a prototype stealth warhead facility. "We'll take all 3. One every night. Infiltrate, compromise, exfil. We leave no trail, no body, no tech. We don't exist." "What if they engage?" asked Rivera, his sniper. Elias looked up. "Then we show them what real ghosts look like." Crithin vs jungle was not welcoming. The air was damp and heavy. Native trees twisted unnaturally toward the sky, glowing faintly under the twin moons. Virex patrol drones passed overhead in rhythmic cycles, unaware of the humans lying motionless beneath thermal-shielded camo sheets. Elias lay flat, breathing through a filtered mask. He checked his watch. 5 minutes until insertion. "Status?" he whispered. "All green," came the whispered reply from Sergeant Moreno. They moved like water. Not one snap twig. No sounds but shifting foliage. They reached a ridge overlooking the Virex comms facility, an angular black structure, pulsing with violet lights. Inside, Virex technicians barked orders in a harsh guttural tongue. Monitors scanned for signatures, but the stealth suits worked. The humans were shadows. Elias raised his hand. The team froze. One sentry was blocking the rear service hatch. Rivera didn't need orders. One suppressed shot, one slumped alien. Entry was quiet. Inside, the team moved room to room. Specialist Zhang uploaded malware to the mainframe, looping security feeds and replacing them with archived data from 3 days prior. "Status?" Elias whispered. "Feed looping. AI's blind. We're invisible." The team planted silent charges at each power conduit, not to destroy, but to short out sensors during peak broadcast. It would look like system failure. Before leaving, Elias found a central console. He typed one line of code that would reroute all Virex transmissions on Crithin V back to Earth intercepts for monitoring. Then they vanished. Back at Council headquarters, the Virex delegate presented confident updates. "The humans have landed. 12 units as expected. No resistance reported. No strategic movement." Lila Tran watched the feed from Crithin V silently. No footage showed the sabotage. But she saw the brief flicker in Virex data streams, timestamped disruptions disguised as static. She smiled just a little. The second night, the refinery exploded. A single silent drone had slipped through the exhaust vents, ridden a fuel line into the core, and dropped a timed EMP lace charge. The resulting blaze lit the jungle for kilometers. Virex Command was stunned. Their own thermal logs showed no breach, no hostiles, no sign of movement. Their AI flagged a wildlife error. Varlakshan, commander of Virex forces, crushed the tablet in his claw. They're primitive, he growled. They don't have cloaking. They don't have infiltrators. Who did this? Silence. Varlock rose. Send a scout squad. Bring back a body. Back in the trees, Elias and his team cleaned weapons, silently chewing rations. Rain fell in sheets. Think they've noticed us yet? Joked Moreno. They've noticed the smoke, Elias replied. But not the message. What message? He looked out at the jungle. That every empire falls the moment it believes it's invincible. Rivera chuckled softly. They won't see us coming. They already didn't, Elias said. He tapped his encrypted comm and sent one phrase to the valiant ghost in orbit. Phase 1 complete. Proceeding to Warhead Facility. The jungle swallowed the humans again. 12 ghosts. No banners. No anthem. Just purpose. The Galactic Council still watched from afar, amused, indifferent. But that would change soon. Very soon. Krithan vs. dawn broke with smog and static. Virex recon cruisers circled overhead, their sensors twitchy and erratic. Ground troops combed the jungle, torches and scanners in hand, fangs bared behind bone-plated helmets. But they weren't hunting an army. They were searching for 12 ghosts. Captain Elias McConnell crouched behind a thicket of moss-veined rocks, scanning the terrain through thermal optics. Beside him, Specialist John whispered, "Patrols sweeping northeast. Gaps every 11 minutes." He nodded. "Just like last night." Across the comms channel, Sergeant Rivera added, "Sentries are getting sloppy. They're nervous. That's when mistakes happen. Then let's help them make one." The target tonight was the Warhead Prototype Facility. Hidden in a canyon, wrapped in bioreactive camouflage, it pulsed beneath the soil like a buried heart. Virex was working on a new class of stealth-capable missiles, undetectable by current Council tech. If launched, they'd destabilize the region. Facility has dual perimeter shielding. Power lines buried 6 meters. Heat signatures suggest around 35 hostiles. One heavy mech, John whispered. Elias studied the map on his wrist display. Entry via the east ventilation column. John, Rivera, you two with me. Moreno's team, take south exit, watch for mechs. No hero moves. Copy. He took one long breath. Let's move. Their approach was silent. Elias's fire team scaled the canyon wall, hands gripping rock and thick vines. At the vent shaft, Jean dropped a thin cable camera inside. She watched the feed. 2 guards facing away. 10-second conversation loop, easy breach. Rivera pulled a microdart gun from his pack and fired twice. Both guards slumped. They entered. Inside, the air was dry, recycled. Virex tech lined the walls, sleek, modular, humming with quiet menace. Jean took point, disabling biometric locks as they passed. Visual confirmation, Rivera whispered. 3 prototype warheads suspended mid-vault. All tagged. Prepped for testing. Any security? 3 engineers. Unarmed. 1 mech posted by the southern bulkhead. Leave the mech. We'll handle it after. They placed thermite charges along the warhead racks, carefully calibrated. Just enough to disable, not detonate. Elias approached a terminal and uploaded a virus, one designed to loop false system logs for 7 hours. It would make tonight's breach vanish. Then came the screams. Ambush, South Corridor! Moreno's voice crackled over comms. A Virex patrol had stumbled across the exit team. Weapons free, Elias said instantly. His team rushed through the hallways, engaging with surgical precision. Zhang fired stun bursts. Rivera dropped 2 more with clean, silent shots. Elias rounded a corner and came face to face with the Virex heavy mech. The thing was massive, 8 feet tall, shoulders like tank armor, triple-barrel plasma cannon spinning. No hesitation. Elias tossed a magnetic pulse mine. Thud. Click. Whine. The mech froze mid-spin, sparks dancing across its joints. Move! He shouted. They sprinted as the thermite charges activated, glowing white-hot. The vault ignited in a flash, melting the warheads where they stood. By the time Virex reinforcements arrived, the humans were gone. Miles away, under the thick canopy of Crithin's jungle, the team regrouped. Elias checked their vitals. 1 injury, shallow plasma graze on Moreno's shoulder. Treatable. You good? Elias asked. Moreno grimaced. Was just a love tap. The captain smirked. You're ugly enough without the Virex trying to improve you. Laughter rolled quietly through the squad. But it faded as they heard distant rumbling, dropships sweeping the skies. They'll come hard now, Rivera said. We've humiliated them 3 times. That's the point, Elias replied. They can't fight what they don't understand. Meanwhile, in orbit, Varlokshin stood fuming in the war room of the Virex flagship Blood Spine. His claws drummed on a metal table. You're telling me we've lost our comm station, our refinery, and now the warhead prototypes, to a dozen primitive mammals? His officers remained silent. Where are the bodies? None recovered. No armor? DNA? Weapons? Nothing. Only messages. Messages? Varlock growled. The officer pulled up a transmission. It showed a Virex sentry tied to a tree, unharmed. Carved into the bark behind him were 3 words. Read human history. Varlock stared at the message. Rage curled through his throat like acid. I want this planet scorched. I want their bones. Back on Crithin V, Elias received Council frequency reports through Zhang's scrambler. Council believes the Virex are losing control. Some think it's infighting, she said. Elias leaned against a tree trunk, sipping filtered water. Let them believe that. They still don't credit us, Rivera muttered. They think we're observers, not the threat. Elias looked out into the dark. We don't need their applause. We need them afraid. That night, the jungle glowed red as Virex launched blind bombardments, incinerating their own outposts in search of phantoms. The Green Berets watched from the ridge, burning their own nests. Moreno whispered. Not smart. No, Elias said. It's desperation. He tapped his comm again. Phase 2 complete. Awaiting new coordinates. Then he looked at his men. Get some sleep. Tomorrow, we show them what fear feels like. Varlokshin stared at the burning jungle from the command deck of his dropship. Ash coated the canopy like frost, and thick columns of smoke twisted skyward. The scent of scorched foliage clung to the vents. It wasn't victory. It was confusion. Still no bodies? He growled. The officer at the console shook his head. Only what they leave behind. Traps, sabotage, and symbols. Symbols? The officer brought up another report. A Virex scouting team had discovered a severed mech arm left upright in the soil, its plasma cannon aimed skyward like a monument. Tied around it, an Earth flag, burned at the edges, but unmistakable. Varlock hissed. Mockery. Captain Elias McConnell crouched behind a jagged root structure, watching the Virex convoy through magnified optics. 7 transports. 2 artillery crawlers. 1 command hovercraft. He didn't speak. Didn't blink. He marked every vehicle, every heat point, every timing gap. His mind wasn't running on adrenaline, it was cold, methodical, mathematical. Beside him, Sergeant Rivera whispered, They're stretched thin. No infantry escort on the flanks. They're getting cocky. No, Elias replied. They're getting desperate. That night, the Green Berets struck again, but differently. No charges. No explosions. No dead. They hacked the lead transport's AI and looped its navigation system. The crawler veered left, right into a gully. It tipped, spilled supplies, and blocked the entire path. Behind it, The rest halted. Seconds later, Elias's team hijacked the command vehicle's comms. They played back Virex orders, spliced, altered, sending mixed instructions to nearby units. A squad was ordered to fire on confirmed hostile heat sources. Those sources were their own scouts. Gunfire erupted. By dawn, 3 Virex units were destroyed, by friendly fire and chaos alone. No human had fired a single bullet. Zhang monitored Virex transmissions from a safe distance. They're blaming equipment malfunction. Half their command network is offline. Internal accusations are flying. Good, Elias said. Let them chew their own tail. Moreno joined them, limping slightly. You hear about the mech base? Virex detonated their own fusion core thinking we'd breached it. Elias raised an eyebrow. Did we? Nope. Just ran a drone through the perimeter and let it disappear. He smirked. You've been learning. Moreno shrugged. You're not the only ghost out here, sir. In orbit, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Ambassador Lila Tran stood in silence as delegates shouted accusations, theories, and conspiracies. The Virex are clearly sabotaging themselves to justify invasion. One delegate barked. No, this is a third party. Another shrieked. Perhaps a rogue AI faction. Lila simply said. Perhaps, it's us. Silence. You mock Earth. Yet a dozen of our people have dismantled a military force 20 times their size. Without a fleet. Without allies. Without recognition. Gorlek scoffed. There's no proof. Where's your footage? Lila smiled thinly. Asked the Dominion. They're collecting the ashes. Back on Crithen V, Elias stood by a creek, rinsing ash off his face. The jungle was still smoldering in patches behind him. He looked tired. Weeks of constant movement had turned even his breathing mechanical. Rivera approached, holding a Virex comms pack. Intercepted chatter. Varlock is deploying himself. He's coming down here. Elias didn't react. He kept scrubbing his hands. Wants to make an example. Public execution. Ritual stuff. His pride's bleeding. Good, Elias said, dropping the pack into the water. He just gave us a target. That evening, the squad moved toward the cliffside ruins near the Virex drop zone. It was an old outpost, barely standing. They knew Varlock would use it. He needed something dramatic, somewhere visible. Moreno, crouched near a half-buried sensor node, grunted. This place is a kill box. He'll have snipers, air support, every toy he's got. Then we won't hit it head-on, Elias replied. We'll bleed it first. They started with the food. Elias's team replaced ration packs with local berries that caused vivid hallucinations in the Virex digestive tract. Then the comms. They injected loops of Earth music, distorted and slowed, playing on repeat inside Virex helmets. By the third day, several squads had begun firing at shadows. One patrol executed a tree they believed was breathing. Varlock saw all of it. Felt it building around him like pressure. He slammed a fist into a table, fracturing the alloy. Bring me a human! He snarled. Alive! They got their chance, or thought they did. Moreno was captured. After a staged injury. He let them drag him into the outpost, blood smeared across his forehead, breathing slow. They didn't see the tracking chip sewn under his skin. They didn't see Rivera perched above with a long-range tranquilizer. They didn't know that Elias had already mapped every blind spot in the ruins. As Varlock approached, Elias watched from 100 yards away. The Virex commander loomed over Moreno. You're their leader? Nope. You're their best? Moreno grinned. Not even close. Then the charge detonated, just a flash charge, no lethal intent. But it blinded half the guards. Rivera dropped 3 with darts. Elias moved in, silent and surgical. Within 90 seconds the ruins were cleared. Varlock was pinned beneath a crumbling wall, dazed. Elias stood over him. Primitive, right? Elias said. Varlock bared his fangs. You fight like vermin. No. Elias said, pressing a boot against his chest. We fight like humans. You just never bothered to learn what that meant. He tapped his comm. Target acquired. Notify Council. As the dropship descended to extract them, Elias looked once more at the jungle. It had burned. It had bled. But it had also swallowed an empire. The dropship's engines roared as it touched down on the charred plateau overlooking Crithen vs. crater fields. Winds kicked up ash and broken leaves. Elias McConnell stood at the ramp, arms crossed, watching as two soldiers dragged Varlokshin, still bound, bruised, and seething, up the metal steps. The Virex commander spat blood, hissing in rage. You'll die for this. Not just you, all of Earth. We will drown your cities. Elias didn't blink. You can't even hold a jungle. In orbit above Crithen V, the USS Valiant Ghost maintained stealth mode, invisible to the cluttered sensors of Virex ships still trying to regain command over their collapsing war front. Within the war room, Specialist Zhang finished stitching together the final broadcast. It contained decrypted Virex communications, high-res drone footage of their failed bombardments, friendly fire incidents, false orders, and, most importantly, recorded footage of Varlok's capture. Elias's voice concluded the message. This is what happens when you mistake quiet for weakness. Zhang hit send. At the Galactic Council, chaos erupted. The holofeed played to all 34 representatives in real time. Gasps filled the chamber as they watched the infamous Virex warlord dragged from ruins like a defeated beast. Even the ever-condescending Gorlax was speechless, bulbous eyes unblinking. When it ended, silence took hold. Then Lila Tran stood. Earth sent 12 soldiers, she said plainly. You called it a token force. You laughed. You assumed. Her gaze swept the chamber. You forgot the oldest rule of war. Never provoke an enemy who studies quietly. Never mock a species with nothing to prove. One delegate stammered. This was disproportionate. Lila cut in. It was precise. On Crithen V, the jungle had quieted. Ash still hung in the air, but the fighting was over. Virex forces, disoriented and leaderless, had begun withdrawing. Patrols left without orders. Command relays went dark. What remained was confusion, fear, and a name, Earth, spoken with new caution. Elias and his team stood near the extraction site. The war was won. Not through numbers. Not with bombs. Through will. Moreno nursed his bruised ribs, smirking. So, do we get medals for this or do they just pretend it didn't happen? Elias gave a short chuckle. We get silence. That's the best kind of recognition. Rivera pointed skyward. Dropship incoming. Time to go home. They boarded. No victory speeches. No anthems. Just the quiet hum of rotors and the weight of what they'd done. Back on Eos Prime, Varlok was presented before the council. Shackled in electromagnetic restraints, still defiant, though his eyes flicked nervously at the cameras broadcasting system-wide. You have violated council protocols, Lila Tran said calmly. Varlok snarled. The protocols are weak. Your council is weak. Earth has corrupted you with. He stopped. Elias entered the chamber, dressed not in parade uniform, but in field fatigues, boots still caked in Crithen V mud. He stood beside Lila, silent, unmoving. The chamber held its breath. Elias spoke, voice level. You thought power was loud. That it needed to shout. But the real kind waits. Watches. Then strikes so precisely that your war machine forgets how to walk. Varlok lunged forward, but his restraints held. Lila turned to the council. Earth's performance in Zeta 14 was strategic, proportional, and clean. Let the record show, we did not escalate. We resolved. Delegates murmured. Some nodded. Gorlax lowered his head. A month later, Elias sat alone on a hill in Colorado. Snow was falling. In the distance, pine trees swayed under white weight. No comms buzzed. No boots crunched behind him. Just quiet. He heard approaching footsteps. Lila Tran appeared, wrapped in a gray coat. No press, she said. Just me. He didn't stand. Just offered her a nod. She sat beside him. You've been offered command, she said. I'm not interested. You're a symbol now. I didn't ask to be. No one ever does. He paused. They still afraid? They're being polite. To us. To our diplomats. Even Gorlax requested a Terran security detail. He let out a breath. Fear isn't the goal. No, she said. But it's a start. Somewhere in deep space, in another council sector, two alien captains stood over a battle strategy table. One pointed to a system near Sol. Earth is here. Minimal fleet. Small in numbers. Still new to the galactic stage. The other tapped the image and said, Don't. Why? Because they don't send armies. They send people like him.